Some 200 global financial leaders will attend an investment summit in Hong Kong in November. China and Japan mark the 50th anniversary of normalized ties. And Putin expected to announce the incorporation of 4 regions of Ukraine into Russia within days. Welcome to TVB News. Some 200 financiers will attend the November Global Financial Leaders Investment Summit in Hong Kong. They include Chairman of Morgan Stanley, UBS and Goldman Sachs. A dinner banquet will be held the day before the summit, prompting questions on whether the participants will be subject to 3 days of medical surveillance or, as sources indicate, will be granted discretionary exemptions. Chief Executive of the Hong Kong Monetary Authority Eddie Yu detailed in his blog post the schedule for the financial summit. He noted that the summit will bring together a group of global financial leaders from over 100 institutions. The date? November 2nd, the same day Singapore is set to host the FinTech Festival. The summit, to be held in Four Seasons Hotel, will welcome 30 group chairmen or CEOs of top financial firms. The participants include Noel Quinn, Group Chief Executive of HSBC, and Bill Winters, Group Chief Executive of Standard Chartered. According to the itinerary, the summit will focus on topics ranging from challenges facing the global financial community to uncertainties brought by rising interest rates. Half an hour will be dedicated to China's financial regulatory policies. But there is an eyebrow-raising event, a 2-hour welcoming dinner at M+ in West Kowloon, hosted by the HKMA the day before the summit. Under current quarantine arrangements, incoming travellers can only enter restaurants after undergoing 3 days of medical surveillance. It's believed that if the 0+3 arrangement remains in place, certain restrictions can be lifted for the participants, but they must do regular tests and record their daily itinerary. Eddie Yu said he understands this will be a short visit for most participants and authorities will provide suitable arrangements. He added the latest relaxation of some of the control measures could facilitate the guests' trip to Hong Kong, which also underlines the city's status as an international financial hub. Billy Mack, an expert on finance and decision sciences, said financial leaders' willingness to come all the way to Hong Kong shows that the summit will play an important role in their business connections and opportunities. The city's vaccine pass requirement will be extended tomorrow to cover children aged from 5 to 11. Secretary for the Civil Service Ingrid Young, who is in charge of the city's vaccination program, said the extension will not affect many children in the age group. Christy Khan reports.
The new community vaccination center in Lai Chi Kok, located in a converted shipping container, will begin to offer Sinovac vaccines to the public starting tomorrow. Another container to be placed in Wong Tai Sin Square is set to offer COVID vaccination services next month. After inspecting the Lai Chi Kok site, Secretary for the Civil Service Ingrid Young told reporters that around 50,000 children aged from 5 to 11 remain unvaccinated. Given that the vaccine pass requirements will be extended to cover children as young as 5 from tomorrow, Yuan said she expects there won't be a large number of children in the age group getting barred from entering the regulated premises.
Being able to add a companion to it will definitely provide greater convenience for parents who are bringing young children with them together. But as I said just now, the vaccination situation of children from 3 years to 11 years has been improving, has been quite good.
Community vaccination centers, meanwhile, will also offer free flu vaccines to residents aged 50 or above from next Thursday. But those who opt for the flu shot only may have to go to other places.
But for those who would just like to have the flu vaccine, in past years we have many outlets for delivering the flu vaccine. So in this year it's the same. We have not reduced the outlets. So they will have plenty of venues to go to.
Today, the city reported 4,269 new COVID infections, including 245 imported cases. 5 more COVID-related deaths were recorded. Christy Khan, TVB News.
Former lawmaker Ted Ho, who fled overseas, has been sentenced to more than 3.5 years behind bars. The pro-democracy figure's travel documents had been confiscated due to his involvement in multiple criminal cases. In 2020, the court gave him permission to travel overseas after Ho vowed to return for trial following a visit to Denmark. He then jumped bail and announced going into exile himself. Ho was earlier found guilty of 4 counts of contempt of court. The sentence was handed down today without his presence. High Court Judge Andrew Chan noted the defendant provided false information and deceived authorities to grant him permission to leave Hong Kong. He called the deception carefully orchestrated, adding that Ho made a mockery of the criminal justice system. The judge sentenced him to 3 years and 6 months behind bars. Ho was also ordered to pay court hearing fees and punitive damages. Meanwhile, Ho said on social media that he scoffed at the sentencing and will continue to fight on his own. President Xi Jinping and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida today said it's important to take bilateral relations in a positive direction. This as the two countries mark the 50th anniversary of normalization of their ties amid rising tensions. According to state media CCTV, Xi told Kishida in a phone call that he attached great importance to the development of China-Japan relations. Meanwhile, in a message read at a reception in Tokyo to mark the occasion, Kishida told Xi that bilateral relations were facing many issues and challenges now. But the Japanese leader said he hopes to pave the way for a new future. Ties between China and Japan have been strained over disputed islands, regional influence and the legacy of Japan's wartime occupation of part of China. Russia is poised to annex some 15% of Ukraine in the next few days. This after Russia claimed referendums held in 4 occupied regions of Ukraine showed overwhelming support in favor of joining the Russian Federation. The referendums were denounced by Kiev and the West as illegal, and the Ukrainian government says it is determined to reclaim the territory. Tracy Furness reports.
In Moscow's Red Square Wednesday, giant video screens and billboards were set up proclaiming Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, Russia. It's been just over a week since President Putin endorsed referendums in the 4 regions. Pro-Russian officials there said they would ask Putin to incorporate their provinces into Russia. The head of the upper house of the Russian parliament said it could consider the incorporation on October 4th, 3 days before Putin's 70th birthday. Foreign observers who have been invited by Moscow to monitor the Russian-orchestrated referendums claimed that the voting process had been fair. But Ukrainians who escaped the region said nobody voted in the referendums except for a few people who switched sides, and that Russian officials were bringing ballot boxes door to door with armed men in tow.
Of course, there were soldiers, but it was not because of forcing the people, but it was to protect us, and not for the people to force them to vote. I also saw that they went to visit elderly people, disabled people.
Meanwhile, Ukraine is determined to reclaim territory Russia is likely to annex. Ukraine presidential advisor Mikhailo Podolyak said his country and Europe have no chance to properly end the war except for the gradual and effective liberation of all its territories. The US Department said they will impose economic costs on Moscow over the sham referendum held by Russia.
We've been very clear that we are prepared and we will impose additional severe and swift costs on Russia for proceeding with the annexations. And again, it's important to remember what's going on here. Russia invaded Ukraine, seized territory, and is engaged in a diabolical scheme on some of the territory it seized, where it has moved the local populace out, often through these filtration centers, where people may be deported to Russia, elsewhere in Ukraine, or they simply disappear.
The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen also proposed Wednesday a new package of Russia sanctions designed to make the Kremlin pay for escalating the conflict in Ukraine and the sham votes in the occupied territories. The sanctions include further import bans on Russian products and export bans on key technology used for military purposes. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
The United States yesterday opened a first-of-its-kind summit with Pacific Island leaders in Washington. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken kicked off the event. He said the two sides had agreed on a declaration of partnership between the U.S. and the Pacific.
It's a vision that recognizes that only by working together can we actually tackle the biggest challenges of our time that confront all of our citizens, from combating the climate crisis and health emergencies to promoting economic opportunity, to preserving a free and open Indo-Pacific where every nation, no matter how big, no matter how small, has the right to choose its own path.
Leaders and representatives from 14 Pacific Island states are taking part in the two-day summit. China has been making steady advances in the region. According to the Washington Post, the Biden administration is expected to announce an investment of more than $860 million in expanded programs to aid the islands. That's on top of more than $1.5 billion provided in the past decade. Still to come on tonight's news, 3 residential sites will be put up for tender in the next quarter under the government's land sale program. A call for the dissemination of anti-COVID information in different languages to enhance communications with foreign domestic helpers. Welcome back. The government will put up for tender 3 residential sites in the next quarter. Together with projects from the MTR Corporation and the Urban Renewal Authority, land plots for building some 11,900 private units will be offered in the first 3 quarters. The plots in Kai Tak, Stanley and Kennedy Town are expected to provide 2,500 units. Together with other projects, officials said total private supply is expected to reach 5,900 units within the next few months. Secretary for Development Bernadette Lin said despite challenges to both the global and local economies, the authorities will continue to provide a steady supply of land and housing. The Philippines Consulate General in Hong Kong hopes the government will enhance communication with foreign domestic workers, such as providing anti-COVID information in different languages. Christy Kant reports.
The city's fast-changing anti-epidemic rules are at the cause of confusion for some minority groups. Some are even fined for unintentionally violating new measures. The Consul General of the Philippines in Hong Kong told TVB News that some foreign domestic helpers were penalized for not complying with mandatory testing regulations, even though they were not informed about the new policies.
You're expected to do some tests even if you are out of quarantine. Many of our workers are not aware or are not given the timely or correct instructions to do that. So many of them are actually fined 10,000 Hong Kong dollars, which is a big amount considering that you're only earning $4,630 a month.
Being penalized with a fine that is more than double the salary is too heavy a price to pay, he said. The Consul General hopes the Hong Kong government can provide information and instructions about anti-COVID measures in the Filipino languages. This will ensure they will have a better understanding about the latest updates on the COVID-19 situation in the city. Christy Khan, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching.